Welcome. Today we're looking at the top 5 rare United States of America quarter-dollar coins, each one becoming valuable because of different conditions and unique mint marks. Whether it's a low mintage issue, a hard-to-find silver quarter, or a rare error coin, the condition of the coin and marks like D, S, or no mint mark can make a huge difference in value. Even lightly circulated quarters can bring strong prices if they come from special years or rare mints. Let's get started first up the mid-1970s. A time when American coinage was going through many changes, and millions of coins were being used every day in the growing economy. In this episode, we're exploring the United States quarter dollar from 1974 with the Philadelphia mint mark, a coin found commonly in circulated condition but full of history and character. When you pick up a 1974 P quarter, the first thing you notice is that it carries the classic Washington portrait on the obverse. In circulated condition, the details are softened from years of use, giving the coin a slightly aged and worn appearance that tells its story. The portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, often shows flattening in the hair and around the cheek and jawline when the coin has been in circulation for decades. These softer details are a hallmark of a coin that has seen everyday life across the United States. Above Washington's head appears the word Liberty. On circulated examples, the edges of these letters may not be as sharp as on mint state coins, but they remain clearly readable, showing only minor wear from years of handling. Just below the portrait, you'll find the phrase, "In God We Trust." On well-circulated coins, this phrase can sometimes appear lightly worn, especially along the tops of the letters, but it still stands strong as a central part of the design. The date, 1974, sits prominently at the bottom of the obverse. On circulated coins, the numbers may be slightly smoothed, but the date remains easy to recognize, marking this coin's origin nearly half a century ago. Unlike coins minted in Denver or San Francisco, the Philadelphia Mint did not use a visible mint mark on quarters during this era. That means there is no physical mark like P on the coin, but collectors refer to this type as a Philadelphia strike. Moving to the reverse side, we are greeted with the bold and iconic heraldic eagle design. The eagle, with wings spread wide, holds a bundle of arrows in its talons, symbolizing strength and readiness to defend the nation. On a circulated 1974 quarter, the feathers on the eagle's wings and chest often appear worn down. These high points receive the most contact over years of circulation, leading to smooth areas where details once stood out sharply. Above the eagle, the inscription, United States of America, stretches across the top of the coin. In circulated condition, the letters may show rounding or softness but remain completely legible. Directly below that, you'll find the phrase, E pluribus unum, a motto meaning, out of many, one. Though the letters might show some flattening, they usually remain easy to read even on heavily used examples. At the bottom of the reverse, the denomination, quarter dollar, is clearly displayed. Even in circulated condition, these bold letters tend to hold up well over time because they sit deeper in the coin's surface. The overall color of a circulated 1974 quarter tends to be a dull gray or light silver, lacking the bright shine seen on uncirculated examples. This discoloration comes from the natural aging of the copper-nickel alloy. Sometimes, circulated quarters show slight dark patches, small scratches, or areas of uneven toning. These marks are normal signs of long-term handling and give each coin its unique character. Because the coin is made from a copper core with a nickel outer layer, the edges may sometimes show hints of the copper color beneath, especially if the coin has seen heavy use over many years. The reeded edge of the coin, consisting of small grooves, often becomes smoother as the coin ages. On circulated 1974 quarters, some grooves may be worn down or rounded, showing how much handling the coin has endured. Despite being common in circulation, this quarter still represents an important piece of American numismatic history. The Washington quarter had already been in production for more than 40 years by 1974, and its design was widely recognized across the country. In circulated condition, this coin provides a great example for new collectors learning to grade wear. You can study the flattening on Washington's portrait, the worn eagle feathers, and the softened edges of the lettering. This 1974 P quarter is also part of an era before the 50-state quarters program, so it carries the classic eagle reverse that remained unchanged for decades, making it familiar to millions of Americans. Even though the coin is not rare or highly valuable in circulated condition, it holds historical worth because it reflects everyday commerce of the 1970s, from grocery stores to gas stations. For collectors who enjoy building full-year sets, the 1974 Philadelphia quarter is an essential piece. It fits perfectly into circulated collections where natural aging and wear are appreciated as part of the coin story. This coin has likely passed through countless hands over nearly 50 years. Students buying snacks, families paying for toll roads, shoppers receiving change at local stores, and workers collecting pay in cash. Every scratch, dent, and worn-down detail reflects those decades of movement. Circulated coins like this give a more authentic sense of history than perfectly preserved mint-state examples. The 1974 quarter also comes from a time when American coinage was adapting to modern economic demands. Millions were produced, making them widespread and familiar to generations of citizens. Holding a circulated coin like this connects us directly to that era, allowing us to imagine the journey it has taken across time, across states, and through everyday life. Even with its signs of wear, the design remains powerful. The strong eagle on the reverse and the stoic image of Washington on the obverse both symbolize American strength and leadership. Collectors often enjoy adding circulated coins to collections because they represent the real working coins of the past, not just pristine examples kept away from public hands. The circulated condition also makes the coin approachable for beginners. It teaches the value of observation, examining texture, shine, wear patterns, and edge condition. While it may not hold significant monetary value, this 1974 P quarter holds sentimental and historical value, reminding us of America's economic story during the mid-1970s. Every detail on the coin, even those that have faded with time, contributes to its charm. It remains a solid example of classic U.S. coinage used throughout decades of American life. As we wrap up this script, remember that every coin carries its own history, even those that look simple or heavily circulated. The 1974 P quarter is one such piece, a true survivor of its time. Next up, the United States quarter dollar from 1982 with the Philadelphia mint mark. This coin, now several decades old, carries the history of everyday America in its worn surfaces and circulated appearance. The 1982 P quarter is part of the Washington Quarter series, a design that had already been in use for 50 years by the time this coin was struck. It features the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, created by sculptor John Flanagan in 1932. When you hold a circulated 1982 quarter, you'll immediately notice the wear from decades of use. The details of Washington's hair, cheek, and jawline often appear smooth, showing that this coin has passed through countless hands over the years. The inscription, Liberty, rests at the top of the obverse. On circulated examples, this word may show soft edges, and some letters might appear faded along the tops, yet it remains fully readable as a defining part of the design. Below Washington's chin, you'll find the national motto, "In God We Trust." On most circulated 1982 quarters, the letters show some flattening, but the phrase remains visible even after decades of circulation. At the bottom of the obverse, the date, 1982, stands clearly. Circulated wear may soften the edges of the numbers, but the year remains easily identifiable. This date marks an important time in American coinage history, especially because no mint sets were made that year. To the right of the portrait, the Philadelphia mint mark, P, is stamped. This was only the second year that Philadelphia placed a mint mark on the quarter, making it a small but notable part of the coin's design. Turning the coin over, the reverse displays the iconic heraldic eagle design. With its wings spread, the eagle holds a bundle of arrows in its talons, symbolizing America's strength and readiness to defend itself. Circulated 1982 quarters often show noticeable wear on the eagle's wings and chest. The feather details become smooth or shallow, especially on coins that have spent decades in pockets, registers, and cash drawers. Above the eagle is the inscription, United States of America. Even in heavily circulated condition, the letters remain readable, though their once sharp edges may be rounded from long-term use. Just below this inscription is the motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. On circulated examples, these letters often show moderate wear, yet they still stand proudly across the coin's surface. At the bottom of the reverse, the denomination, quarter dollar, is displayed. These bold letters tend to hold up well over time because they sit deeper in the coin's strike, making them more resistant to wear. The color of a circulated 1982 quarter is typically a dull silver gray, lacking the bright shine of new or uncirculated coins. This change in appearance comes from the natural aging of its copper-nickel composition. Many circulated examples show dark spots, small scratches, or patches of uneven toning. These marks are normal and help tell the story of how long the coin has been in daily use. Because the coin has a copper core, the edges often reveal faint reddish-orange tones where the inner metal becomes visible. This is a common trait of circulated clad quarters. The reeded edge, made up of small groove lines, often becomes worn down or partially smoothed over time. This is especially noticeable on well-used 1982 quarters that have spent decades in circulation. One interesting historical fact about 1982 quarters is that the U.S. Mint did not produce official mint sets that year. Because of this, high-grade examples are harder to find, making circulated coins like this even more representative of the era. Even though circulated 1982p quarters are common, they hold significance for collectors who appreciate coins with character and a sense of history. Their worn surfaces reflect real use in the American economy of the 1980s. This coin represents an era of rising technology, shifting culture, and economic change in the United States. Every scratch and faded detail carries a piece of the past, showing how widely the coin was used. Collectors studying circulated coins can learn a lot from the wear patterns on a 1982p quarter. The fading of Washington's portrait, the smoothing of eagle feathers, and the rounding of letters all help beginners understand grading. This quarter also comes from a time before the 50-state quarters program, so its traditional eagle reverse symbolizes decades of classic U.S. coinage design that ended in 1998. The circulated condition of this coin adds charm for collectors who enjoy authentic pieces that traveled through many hands. This is a coin that experienced real life, not one stored away untouched. Though not rare or extremely valuable, the 1982p quarter remains a meaningful collectible because of its connection to a unique year in minting history. It represents everyday commerce and daily American life at the time. It's a coin that has probably been used in vending machines, gas stations, supermarkets, schools, and countless small transactions all across the country for more than 4 decades. Each mark and worn surface is a reminder that circulated coins have a story, a journey reflected in their aging appearance. These coins were part of the economy in a way pristine examples never were. This 1982 quarter is more than just 25 cents. It's a time capsule that traveled through generations, contributing to the story of the American dollar and the working people who spent it. Even with its circulated condition and faded luster, the design remains bold and dignified. Washington's portrait and the strong eagle continue to symbolize leadership, unity, and national pride. Collectors who build circulated sets appreciate pieces like this for their history, affordability, and the visual evidence of real use. Circulated coins allow anyone to connect with the past without needing rare or expensive examples. The 1982p quarter is a perfect example of how a common coin can still capture attention. Its simple worn appearance reflects decades of American culture, work, and everyday living. As we wrap up this video script, remember that every coin, no matter how common or circulated, carries its own story. The 1982p quarter is a true survivor of its era and an iconic part of U.S. coinage. Next up, the United States quarter dollar from 1974 without a mint mark. This coin, now many decades old, is a classic of the Washington quarter series and carries the visual history of years of circulation. The 1974 quarter continues the traditional Washington design introduced in 1932 to honor the first president of the United States, George Washington. Even in circulated condition, this familiar portrait remains bold and recognizable. When you look at the obverse of a circulated 1974 quarter, you will see noticeable wear around Washington's cheeks, hairline, and jaw. These are the first areas to show smoothing as the coin passes through countless hands over time. The word Liberty is located at the top of the coin, and on most circulated examples, the letters appear slightly rounded or softened due to long-term use. Even with this wear, the inscription remains readable and clear. Just to the left of Washington's profile is the national motto, "In God We Trust." On circulated coins, the edges of these letters often show light flattening, yet they still stand out as a defining feature of the obverse. At the bottom of the coin, the date, 1974, is displayed. This date marks the final full year before the United States celebrated the nation's bicentennial, making coins from the early 1970s interesting pieces of pre-bicentennial circulation. You will notice that this quarter has no mint mark beneath the phrase, "In God We Trust." This tells us that it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which did not use a mint mark on quarters during this time. Turning the coin over to the reverse, we see the majestic eagle design that symbolizes the strength and readiness of the United States. With its wings fully spread, the eagle rests confidently atop a bundle of arrows. On circulated examples, the feathers of the eagle often show smoothing from years of use. The chest, wings, and tail are areas where detail fades first, giving the coin a softer overall appearance. Above the eagle is the inscription, United States of America. The letters remain bold, though their original crispness may be diminished slightly by wear. Just below that is the motto, E pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. This is a traditional element of U.S. coinage and remains visible even on well-used 1974 quarters. The bottom of the reverse displays the denomination, quarter dollar. These letters are cut deeper into the coin surface, so they usually hold up very well even after long periods of circulation. In circulated condition, the 1974 quarter typically has a dull silver-gray color rather than the bright shine seen on uncirculated examples. The aging process and daily handling naturally mute its original luster. You may also see small scratches, dark spots, or slight discolorations that have developed over decades. These marks are normal characteristics of circulated coins and contribute to their historical charm. The copper core of the quarter often becomes slightly visible along the edge, giving it a faint reddish tint in certain spots. This is a common trait of copper-nickel-clad coins from this era. The reeded edge, which originally had sharp vertical grooves, may now appear partially worn or smoothed due to extensive use. This flattening is typical of quarters that have been in circulation for many years. Even though 1974 quarters are common, their circulated condition tells a story. These coins were used in daily life, in stores, vending machines, gas stations, and everyday transactions across the country. Every mark, scratch, and area of fading on this coin reflects real human activity. This gives each circulated 1974 quarter a unique personality and history that pristine coins simply do not have. From a collector's perspective, circulated 1974 quarters offer an affordable way to study the Washington series. They allow beginners to learn how wear patterns reveal a coin's grade and overall lifespan. Coins from the mid-1970s are especially interesting because they were minted during a time of economic shifts and rising inflation in the United States. These coins were part of the daily financial world of millions of Americans. The design used in 1974 remained unchanged for decades and represents a classic period in U.S. coinage, long before the 50-state quarters program brought new reverse designs to circulation. Holding a circulated 1974 quarter gives you a sense of connection to the past. This coin lived through multiple decades of American life, witnessing cultural, economic, and technological changes. Although the coin is not rare, it is historically meaningful. Its simple circulated condition reminds us that coins are more than metal. They are miniature time travelers carrying stories from the past. Collectors who appreciate circulated coins often enjoy the authentic, aged appearance of quarters like this one. They value character, originality, and the natural look that comes from true use. The 1974 quarter without a mint mark represents the Philadelphia Mint's output during a time when mint marks were unnecessary for this denomination. This adds a small but interesting detail for collectors. This quarter's worn surfaces may show flattening along Washington's hair curls or the eagle's wings, offering viewers a clear example of how circulation affects design elements over time. Each circulated quarter also helps new collectors understand the difference between light wear, moderate wear, and heavy wear. The 1974 quarter is a perfect teaching piece for that purpose. Even though many of these coins remain in circulation today, they serve as reminders of an era before digital payments dominated daily life. Coins like this were essential tools for everyday transactions. The worn but dignified appearance of this 1974 quarter captures the spirit of practical American coinage, sturdy, useful, and durable enough to survive decades of use. As we examine this coin more closely, it becomes clear that even common circulated pieces have a story worth telling. They carry memories of the people who spent them and the times they lived through. This 1974 quarter without mint mark is not just a piece of currency. It's a symbol of American history, endured through decades and still recognized everywhere today. As we wrap up, remember that every coin has its own journey, and circulated examples like this one give us a direct link to the everyday life of the past. If you want another custom long script for any coin, quarter, dime, nickel, penny, or dollar, just tell me the year, mint mark, condition, and color, and I'll create it for you instantly next up. The United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1987 with the D mint mark, a coin that has spent decades in circulation and now shows the raw, aged character of a dirty condition piece. This 1987 quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, and the D mint mark to the right of Washington's ponytail identifies its origin clearly. Even in dirty condition, this small mark holds a great deal of meaning for collectors. The front of the coin features the classic profile of George Washington, a design that has been used on U.S. quarters since 1932. On heavily circulated and dirty coins like this one, Washington's portrait often appears muted, softened, and darkened from long-term use. The word Liberty remains above Washington's head, but dirt accumulation and surface wear may have softened the edges, making the letters appear slightly dull and blended into the coin's surface. The phrase "In God We Trust," placed to the left of Washington's neck, also shows signs of wear and dirt buildup. The dirt in the recessed areas of the coin can cause the letters to look darker and less defined than those on cleaner pieces. At the bottom of the obverse, you'll find the date, 1987, which identifies this coin as part of the later circulating issues before the 50-state quarter series began in 1999. Dirt and wear often darken the numbers, giving them an aged, gritty appearance. Because this coin is in dirty condition, the surface may display patches of dark grime, oily residue, or environmental staining that developed over years of everyday handling. This natural buildup adds a rugged look to the coin. Turning to the reverse of the coin, we see the traditional eagle design used on Washington quarters prior to 1999. The eagle sits proudly with wings stretched wide, though the details may be noticeably dulled due to heavy circulation. On dirty condition examples, the eagle's feathers, especially on the wings and chest, often hold trapped dirt that reduces the visibility of the original fine lines. These areas show a mixture of wear and discoloration that highlights the coin's age. Above the eagle, the inscription, United States of America, remains visible but might appear darkened. Dirt tends to settle into the deeper grooves of the lettering, making the text stand out in a darker tone. The motto, E pluribus unum, located just above the eagle's head, is also affected by the dirt that fills the recesses of the design. Even so, the letters remain readable and continue to symbolize unity among the states. At the bottom of the reverse, the denomination, quarter dollar, can be seen. While wear may have softened the boldness of the letters, dirt in the grooves may actually make them visually more prominent. The coin's overall color appears dull, dark, and uneven due to years of contact with skin oils, moisture, dust, and natural oxidation. Dirty quarters often show random splotches of brown, black, or gray across the surface. The reeded edge of the coin, originally sharp and well-defined, may now appear worn or clogged with dirt. Some grooves may look flattened while others remain intact, painting a picture of long-term use. Dirty condition coins often have small scratches, dents, or marks hidden beneath the darkened surface. These imperfections blend together, giving the coin a rugged, well-traveled look. Although this 1987 quarter is not rare, its dirty condition reveals the authentic story of a coin that has circulated for over 35 years. Every smudge and discoloration tells part of that journey. Collectors sometimes overlook dirty condition coins, but they hold educational value. They help beginners understand how environmental factors influence a coin's appearance over time. The quarter's copper-nickel composition reacts naturally with oils and moisture, causing tarnish or dark spots. This chemical change contributes to the coin's dirty, aged look. Even though the design details are worn and darkened, the 1987 Denver quarter continues to represent classic American coinage before the era of state-themed reverse designs. Its worn surfaces emphasize how widely these coins circulated in the 1980s and 1990s when cash transactions were far more common than today. This quarter likely passed through thousands of hands. The dirt embedded in the design elements shows how a coin's recessed areas trap particles that remain even after years of friction and rubbing in pockets, wallets, and coin jars. Coins in dirty condition may also show slight environmental corrosion, including faint greenish or brownish patches. These marks add character and mark the coin's long exposure to daily life. Washington's portrait, even when worn and dirty, still stands out clearly as one of the most iconic images in U.S. coinage history. His face remains recognizable on nearly every circulated quarter. The Denver Mint produced millions of quarters in 1987, and this piece is one of the many survivors that continue to reflect the economic activity of that era. Dirty condition only enhances its story. Because this coin is so heavily circulated, the original shine and mint luster are completely gone. Instead, the darkened surfaces show the effects of time and constant use. The dirty color of this coin gives it a vintage aesthetic that many collectors appreciate for historical displays, educational sets, or comparison with cleaner examples. This 1987 quarter might not be valuable in monetary terms, but its long life in circulation makes it a piece of living history. It connects us to decades of everyday American commerce. Looking closely at the details, you can see how wear patterns developed naturally, from the high points of Washington's hair to the raised wingtips of the eagle. Dirt highlights these areas in a unique way. Coins like this help collectors appreciate the difference between circulated, heavily circulated, and environmentally worn conditions, making them excellent examples for reference collections. A dirty 1987 quarter also shows how coins naturally blend into daily life, often ignored until someone eventually examines them and discovers the story behind their condition. Despite its dirt and wear, this quarter still functions as legal tender, demonstrating the durability and longevity of U.S. coinage. This endurance is part of what makes coins fascinating to study. As we wrap up, remember that even common coins like this one have stories etched into their surfaces, stories of time, people, places, and the passage of decades. And that concludes our detailed look at the 1987 D Mint Mark Washington quarter in dirty condition. If you'd like another long script for any coin, just tell me the year, mint mark, and condition. I'll create it instantly. Next up, United States coin collecting as we explore the 1983 Washington quarter with the P mint mark, a piece that carries both history and character through its black circulated condition. This coin comes from a decade known for major changes in the U.S. economy, and every circulated coin from that era tells a story shaped by millions of hands and countless transactions. The 1983 quarter is especially interesting because the early 1980s were a time when coin collecting saw big shifts, and many circulated coins didn't survive in high grades, making attractive pieces harder to find today. Your coin, marked with the P Mint mark just beside Washington's ponytail, comes from the Philadelphia Mint, which struck hundreds of millions of these coins during that year. But while the mintage is high, condition plays a huge role in value, and the black circulated state of your coin shows its long journey through everyday American life. Collectors often pay special attention to the color and toning of a coin, and the darkened appearance on your quarter reflects the natural reaction of metal with its environment over decades. This kind of black toning can sometimes make a coin less visually appealing, but to some collectors, it adds charm because it shows authenticity and age. In the world of numismatics, circulated coins like yours often hold historical value more than monetary value, but there are always exceptions depending on errors and die varieties. The 1983 P quarter is known for a few notable errors, and even though not every coin contains one, they remain highly sought after by collectors. One of the most well-known errors from this year is the double die, where portions of the lettering or design appear doubled due to slight misalignment during striking. Coins with doubling on the date or the words, "In God We Trust," can sometimes gain significant interest from hobbyists and experts alike. Even without rare errors, a well-worn coin like your 1983 P quarter can still be appreciated for its connection to the era it comes from. The 1980s introduced new trends in coin collecting, and people began paying more attention to things like mint state conditions and special variations. Your circulated quarter, despite being blackened, showcases the durability of the copper-nickel-clad composition used in American quarters since 1965. This metal blend helped the U.S. Mint create durable coins that could survive decades of heavy use without completely wearing down, and your coin is proof of that endurance. Collectors examining your coin would start with the obverse, checking the details on George Washington's portrait, especially the hair, cheekbones, and jawline. Even if these details are worn, they help determine how long the coin was in circulation and how heavily it was used. The reverse of the coin features the iconic eagle with outstretched wings, a design that the Mint used for many years before introducing state quarters in 1999. On a black circulated quarter, the feather details on the wings are often smoothed, but collectors still analyze them to judge the grade of the coin. The condition known as black circulated doesn't refer to a formal grade, but rather describes a coin that has naturally darkened and suffered significant surface wear. This sort of dark toning often comes from exposure to moisture, air pollutants, oils from human skin, and environmental reactions over time. Collectors sometimes try to clean darkened coins, but cleaning is never recommended because it can damage the surface and decrease value. Leaving the coin in its natural condition is always the best choice for collectors who value originality above all else. Some coins with natural heavy toning actually appeal to specialty collectors who enjoy owning coins with unique and unusual color patterns. The 1983 P quarter in this condition is still an interesting conversation piece for anyone learning about American coinage. Its age, tone, and wear make it an example of how coins can travel through time and carry subtle traces of history. You can imagine how many pockets, wallets, cash registers, and hands this coin has passed through over the past 4 decades. Even though its value in the market may not be high due to condition, its educational and historic worth remain meaningful. Collectors often keep circulated coins like this for teaching beginners about grading, mint marks, and circulation effects. Your coin shows exactly how a quarter from the 1980s typically ages when used heavily in daily life. The darkened surface makes it visually distinct, standing out from modern shiny quarters in circulation today. Some collectors like placing such coins in albums to showcase the contrast between circulated and uncirculated pieces. Even if your coin isn't rare or valuable, it can serve as a great addition to a historical set of Washington quarters. Its P mint mark, blackened tone, and circulated condition all combine to create a unique piece of Americana. And as always, every coin has a story, and your 1983 P quarter tells one rooted in decades of use, exchange, and silent history. If you enjoyed learning about this coin, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more coin collecting content, and stay tuned for our next deep dive into another fascinating piece of U.S. currency.